Did he call?
I think so.
Okay.
We did get our through.
I need to call the meeting of the Village of Corrales governing body to order, please. Please put your phones on vibrate or turn them off. And then once you've done that, stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Not all. Yeah. You see the Google.
So Counselor Murray,
Here. The
Counselor Burkett,
Here.
Counselor Alsobrook,
Here.
Counselor Knight,
Here.
Counselor Woolman,
Here.
Counselor Mira,
Aquí.
and I'm here. Everybody's here. So I need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Do I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Later.
Okay.
All right. So up first is the Bosque Advisory Commission presentation. Gene Hashimoto. Drum roll.
Shown.
Hello. Okay, great. Good evening, Mayor and Council and members of the audience. I'm Joan Hashimoto, Chairperson of the Bosque Advisory Commission, known as CBAC. Could we have the next slide, please, Melanie? Next slide. Please. These are the current CBAC members, and I'm thankful for their help. We meet monthly on the second Thursday of each month in the library. Next slide, please. We divvy up the bosque into 7 sections and monitor them monthly for fallen tree limbs, litter, dog poop, and the unusual. One member of CBAC, Joe Abele, who covers the well-used area from Alameda to Cabazon, has collected countless bags of trash from the riverbank, along with numerous tires, and painted over graffiti and removed that from signs at the channel at Cabazon. Roadrunner Waste has generously picked up this extra stuff at no extra charge to the village when he calls them. With the fire department and Chief Martinez, CBAC had 3 dead and down wood removals last year. This has been a collaboration with Public Works and hardy citizen volunteers. Sandoval County has allowed the wood to be dumped in the green waste section of the landfill for free. Ravenna grass is a noxious weed and fire threat and exists throughout the 4 willow swales in the south part of the bosque. And of course, it's dispersed throughout the whole bosque. We hold Ravenna grass seed head removal events yearly when the seed heads are emerging and before the seeds can disperse. Each seed head contains thousands of seeds. Since August of 2020, we have regularly stocked 8 dog bag stations at bosque entrances. Roadrunner Waste has graciously provided free bins and weekly pickups for the bins at each station. Tanya processes invoices for us when we need bags. Total bag usage was about 8,500 for the bosque stations last year. We replaced the wildlife mural that stood at Cabazon for many years and had been battered by weather and some graffiti. Now it has a new mural, new print of the mural covered by a UV protected acrylic sheet. At times of high fire risk, we placed the Be Vigilant signs at 8 bosque entrances. Next slide, please. That's a before and after of the wildlife mural at Cabazon. And if you could move down to the next slide, that's a photo of the dog station at East Ella, along with our trail courtesy sign and bosque rule signs and the Be Vigilant sign. And next slide, please, Tanya, and that's an example of our wood removal with the chief in the tractor with this brush grapple attachment which picks up large amounts of wood at a time, and 3 stalwart volunteers. That was January 18th when we did one, and that photo was taken by Michaela from the Rio Rancho Observer, and she did a very nice article on fire prevention that we're doing in Corrales. Next slide, please. More wood removal and a photo of Sandy Hill and me at the Ravenna removal in late August last year. Next slide, please. Okay. Now on to 2025 activities, which include continued trail monitoring, which we do at least monthly. And we've recently noticed that some people have chainsawed fallen trees, taken it upon themselves to do that. Although this overtly seems helpful, the encouraged procedure is that people report such fallen trees to the fire department dispatch line, and they will take care of the trees safely. And on January 18th, we did have our first wood removal of the year, and we thank Chief Martinez for his event coordination and driving the tractor with the grapple attachment. We thank the Public Works Director, Steve, for supplying his personnel, Marcus and Jared, who drove the wood removal trucks on Saturday morning. Again, the county allowed the wood to be dumped gratis in the green waste area. And Corrales resident and frequent volunteer Kirk Thrasher had 6 very functional and colorful safety vests donated by Road Safe. We hope to increase the number of these events this year as the amount of dead and down is huge throughout the Bosque. Another Ravenna grass seed head removal will take place in early fall. For these labor-intensive events, the mayor and Melanie have notified the village in the mayor's message, and that has helped to gain some villagers' help. So a big thanks to them. An exciting development this year has been the U.S. Army Corps' interest in sponsoring 2 sites in the South Bosque Willow Swales for monitoring by the Bosque Ecosystem Monitoring Program scientists, who are mostly from UNM. Monitoring is for groundwater depth, precipitation, arthropods, vegetation, water chemistry and quality, cottonwood health, tamarisk leaf beetle, temperatures, leaf litter, and more. One swale has been doing quite well, the other not so well. The program will be for 4 years. And BEMP has about 24 sites along the river, and we're glad to be part of that program and thank USACE, and we'll be anxious to learn about their data. We may do more cottonwood pole planting in the Cabazon area in late winter or early spring, pending getting these poles. CBAC supports a new footbridge installation over the Clear Ditch. The existing Boy Scout bridge is almost 40 years old, and although it has served an important way to cross over the Clear Ditch, it is not optimally safe. Next slide, please. We will be ordering and installing street signs facing east along the Sandoval lateral irrigation ditch to help folks orient them to know where they are in the Bosque. This can be helpful in reporting accidents or fires. We're glad to know that fire suppression access to the Bosque will be installed at Dixon Road by the fire department. The Bosque is a valued part of Corrales. We in CBAC are glad to help maintain it as a nature preserve, and we're very appreciative of the collaboration we have enjoyed with the fire department and cooperation we have received from other village departments. We're also very fortunate in help from Sandoval County, Roadrunner Waste, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. CBAC would like to show you the Bosque. We'll try to arrange a tour with you when the weather warms up. Thank you so much. And are there any questions?
Councilor.
If I could rephrase the question. Thank you, Jones. That's a terrific report. I just have two quick questions, if I could. In your written report, you mentioned that the yellow tape on the e-bike prohibition had been removed. And I'm wondering, is the sign still there and effective? And secondly, and what is the purpose of the yellow tape?
Well, it was to remind people that e-bikes aren't allowed in the Bosque. And we do have more of those stickers and should probably get them back on. They've been ripped off a couple times. And I guess I was afraid of if I razor bladed that sticker off, would it hurt the underlying print?
Sure. The second question is also in your written report, you talked about the state-sponsored North-South Trail. And I know that's been kicking around for several years, since 2018.
Oh, yes.
I know that Senator Steinborn is very active in that. And I was wondering what that would look like on Loma Larga. You mentioned that crusher fine is the preferred surface.
Right.
But what would that look like on Loma Larga? And also, it mentions in there about water stations and toilets and that kind of thing. And how would that be set up in Corrales, if you know at this point?
You know, I don't.
Okay.
That is a worry because that trail, that little path next to Loma Larga doesn't extend completely from Cabazon all the way to the end of Corrales.
Right.
There's a break in it. And at one point, when Mike Hammond was the head of MRGCD, he said, well, we'd have to devise some sort of bridge where that ends. And it would,
So it's still in the developmental stage. It's not advanced.
no. And then what would the campers and bikers do? Go out on 550
Right.
to busy Bernalillo? Because the Bosque through Rio Rancho, there's this one point where there's this big fence that the Sandia Reservation owns, and you can't get past that. So there's some real problems with that. And then we would, of course, people wanting to camp and ride their horses wouldn't, even if a sign said Rio Grande Trail, go to Loma Larga, they would see the Bosque and go, oh,
It's right here.
here's a great place.
Yeah.
So it's a worry.
Still some work to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Thank
Yes,
you very
ma'am.
much.
Councilor Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. That was a great presentation. Thank you. I was wondering, where have you figured out where the east facing street signs are going to be, and how many do you think you're going to have there? Because you know what, when I would ride in the Bosque years ago, I always thought if something happened, I have no idea where I'm at. So how many signs are you thinking you're going to put in, and is it going to be from the north end to the south end of Corrales?
Yes, except I would think somehow people know when they're at Alameda. And I think the chief
Right,
and
I get
and
that.
at Cabazon, but all the other ones in between,
Mhm.
although everywhere there's a Bosque entrance needs a street sign.
Okay, so it's not going to be other than say on Dixon or Via Oriata or at the beginning.
Well, Via Oriata, you can't cross into the Bosque. Well, if you're on a horse,
you can, yeah.
okay, so I hadn't thought of that.
No, I just wondered, so they're gonna be like mostly at crossings where like say Meadowlark and then in Dixon and those,
Where there are green gates,
okay,
where people generally park and enter.
okay, but nothing like in the middle of like, on the levee. There aren't gonna be any, like, maybe occasional signs, so people know, say if they see a fire or if something's happening, they could identify where they are. No, okay,
Well, I think the MRGCD did not want signs on the levee, if I remember correctly.
so,
And we need to encourage the use of the What Three Words app. I don't know if you've heard of it. You can download it. And when you press mark, it will give you 3 random words. And the dispatch and fire and police are very aware of them, and it'll give you a spot with a unique identifier with 10 square feet. Within 10 square feet, it will tell you where you are. I'm explaining
Okay.
this badly.
so then, you're thinking about putting signs up just where there's a crossing.
Where people walk along and they don't know what street is what, like La Entrada or Dixon, or they don't know the name of those streets.
Okay,
Chief,
But-
did you have something you wanted to add?
Sure. Sure.
Mayor, councilors, if I can maybe clarify a couple of things. Joan and I, we've discussed this over a while. Some people want signs, some people don't want signs. But we've have signs at Alameda all the way to the north end on those corrugated steel drains at their mile markers. So if someone is on the levee, pay attention to those markers and it might be 1.5 mile marker or 2.5. So those have been in place since the 1999 Boy Scout project. So they've been in place for years. So we utilize those. The What Three Word app, a couple of years ago, we started getting that out. The Bosque Advisory volunteers, they send me a What Three Word link, and I can go within 10 square feet of a downed tree or a hazard on a trail or an encroachment on, whatever they report to me. Also, we encourage most people have, cell phones. So you can pull up on your map, and as long as you have your active location, you could see where you're at on the levee and the nearest cross streets. It should be able to zoom right in. So if you're somewhere in between, let's say Dixon and Andrews, it should say if you're by Mockingbird or Ella or one of those nearest cross streets. So
okay,
that's what we need to get out to the public, that there's lots of tools out there to triangulate your location. And also remember that if you call 911, and they should validate that you're in Corrales, and they should be able to bring up your position and dispatches to that position based on the triangulation of the cell phones. So I hope that clarifies some of it, but we're not trying to put signs at every crossroad in the Bosque. We're trying to keep it, less impact,
right,
but
okay,
definitely try to make it visible for not only the citizens, but people coming and recreating in Corrales. And again, I know Joan didn't mention it, but thank you again. So you can see it's a busy group. We're busy year round in that Bosque. And thank you for, allocating money and the budget that for their needs, because you can see we have expenses that are reoccurring. So thanks again.
okay, thank you for explaining that. Great, thank you.
Councilor Burkett.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I have a question about 2 of the 2025 projects and maybe some cooperation opportunities. On the Boy Scout Bridge, has there been any efforts to reach out to the current Boy Scouts and see if they would be interested in improving the safety on that bridge and being involved in remodeling that bridge?
So we have some additional information for you. You want to tell them briefly about that? I think we brought it up, but
Yeah.
perhaps we haven't brought it up lately.
So Mayor, Council, So part of this project where we take the product to the green waste to the Sandoval County landfill, I was on one of the trucks delivering the product to the landfill.
Yeah.
That's where I came across a bridge that.
I saw
and-
the same
and
one
so-
out there.
So we are proud owners of this bridge. So we are in the process of relocating that bridge to replace the old Boy Scout bridge approximately 100 feet away, just north of the existing bridge.
Okay.
What we're doing is we're realigning the new bridge location to align with the Army Corps of Engineers ramp. So that way we can hopefully avoid with education, equestrian and pedestrian. When they cross that bridge, they utilize the Army Corps of engineered ramp and not make their own along the levee, which has been a deficiency over the years when it comes to Army Corps inspection.
Okay.
We are slated to get this bridge installed this March. We are currently, our discussion today in our managers meeting is we want to reach out because Joan shared an article with me back when this bridge was installed in 88, 89. Huh? 87. We are going to be working, I think with Angela's help, trying to reach out to some of the citizens that were part of this bridge. And just let them know that we're going to be replacing it. It's kind of, a lot of history there. So.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, my second question was about BEMP. So BEMP, one of the great things about it is they have a seventh grade monitoring platform where they bring local seventh graders to do a lot of the monitoring and the science work. Have there been discussions with Corrales Elementary now that we have a seventh grade to participate in that?
No, I was hopeful about that, but as far as I know, it's going to be the adult scientists from UNM only because of the presence of endangered species there.
Okay,
I'll ask further about it, because that's a big reason we're getting these.
Species.
yep.
And
I mean, I think there's a handful of elementary and middle schools that participate in it now, and I would imagine some of those same species are in the areas that they are doing their stuff. So I think it's probably something that can be overcome, but it's probably not going to be easy. So,
right.
Joan, can you make sure you're talking into the microphone,
Oh,
please?
I'm sorry. It's because we're getting this because endangered species are nesting there. And they want to follow up on that.
well, tell them to drag a seventh grader with them. They'll enjoy that as well.
I'll try.
All right.
I was very hopeful that that would occur, but
Thanks.
they even the BEMP coordinator asked if a graduate student could accompany them, and I haven't heard if that's going to be even allowed.
Stuart.
Thank you, Mayor. So Joan, you mentioned the Ravenna grass is an invasive species. How about salt cedar, Russian olive and elm trees? Is there any work being done to kind of keep your eye on those things and maybe get them removed from the bosque? Or is salt cedar even an issue?
Well, I know the beetle's active. I don't know about. That would be the state forestry.
Okay, I'm just,
You know,
I mean,
I'm-
if it's outside your realm, then I apologize. I didn't mean to do. Great job.
Mayor, Counselor, can you repeat your question so I can?
Well, so the Ravenna grass is an invasive species, but I was also worried about other invasive species like salt cedar, Russian olive trees, elm trees. They suck up water like crazy, but I mean, is that a problem within the Boston?
Yes, and so every year we try to do something in the bosque, and as I reported to you previously, the tow levee, we're almost to completion to do that project, which was an invasive species removal along the tow for fire suppression and for maintenance of the levee, so the Army Corps of Engineers inspectors can come out and see the tow on both sides. We're working with Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District right now to identify other project areas in the bosque. There's definitely a need. One of our number one priorities right now is all the dead and down. I don't know if you've been in the bosque recently, but we have a lot of dead and down. Trees are falling, and it's labor intensive. We are currently working with the New Mexico State Forestry to see if they're going to be bringing back the inmate work crew, which we've been beneficial and over the years with their crews to help us manage the bosque. And so the Rivanna grass, salt cedar, and Russian olive are definitely something that is within the scope of removal. The Russian olive is also, a bird habitat and a food source. So we kind of look at that as far as like quantity and areas, and are they in a study area? For the most part, though, salt cedar and some of the elms, could be removed. Maybe not the big mature elms, which have been suggested that we leave in place because the cottonwoods around some of these mature elms are dying off. And so that's the only really shade that we have in certain areas. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's definitely something that we're working on. The Conservancy, since they're the property owner, has to kind of dictate to us what their suggestions are, and then we apply jointly with State Forestry to try to get those funding to help us.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Yep.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? Joan, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Very good. There's your drum roll. Okay, so now we're gonna, gosh, it's so good to see you.
It's nice to be seen.
We're gonna have the administrator's report now.
First up, as usual, is Tanya. I think she has some dynamic news.
Hi, yes, dynamic news. So what I can tell you is New Mexico is still reporting our flu and COVID numbers within the state, which is good. It does look like respiratory viruses are starting to come down. A lot of stuff I've read, hoping that we've peaked and we're starting to come down now with all of our respiratory viruses. So that's always good news. If you still haven't got your flu shot, still good to do it. RSV the same, but remember that's only one shot and only certain people. And the COVID shot, if you haven't had one in 6 months, we're going to be getting close to that. Over 65 or have health conditions, you can get another vaccine. The last update from the CDC for influenza-like activity was January the 18th, and still it had New Mexico still in the very high level of flu activity. But like I said, hopefully we're coming down. I don't have any death updates or any of those things because CDC for the first time in 60 years did not publish their MMWR report. I am still getting some wastewater data, and wastewater is still high, and it's still high within the West and New Mexico. As for H1N1, H1N5, H1N9, the first time that domestic ducks, domestic birds that are being raised to be found with H5N9 happened in California this week. The reason why that it could be significant, not saying it is the H5N9 is from a recombinant event. So they've got to look at that and see if it's going to be more transmissible. We are getting into the migratory bird season, mainly waterfowl, but all birds. So they are expecting to see more of the H5s out in public, for the wild, the birds and stuff, maybe some more people, hopefully not. So like I've said before, if you've got sick birds on your property, you shouldn't, even if they're your own chickens, you shouldn't touch them without gloving up, wash your hands, putting a mask on is best because you can. It's not highly transmissible, but it is transmissible to people. So they'll be watching that H5N9. And the other reason the H5N9 is a little different is because, and there's so many types and subtyping, that one, H5N, the avian influenza is very close to H5N1 and that we've had, and some of the other flus that we've been exposed to. But the other one, the recombinant, is kind of new. So they are going to monitor that. Right now, we're getting most of the information through private universities and those kind of things. So hopefully we will get data and I can give you a better report. Maybe next council meeting, fingers crossed.
Oh, excuse me, Councilor Murray.
Thank you. Tanya, there was a report tonight on the NBC National News about tuberculosis in the Kansas City.
Oh.
I was just wondering, is there anything in New Mexico that we should think about or know about?
So I'm so glad I did mention that today and I forgot. Yeah, 70 cases, which is an outbreak. And I think in the staff meeting, I said, wow, we should really not be having to talk about tuberculosis in this day and age. There are ways of preventing it. Our health department in New Mexico does have TB nurses. We do have people with TB. One of the TB nurses I work with closely, she has not called me to say we have an outbreak, but it's definitely something to watch. One of the good things about tuberculosis is it is harder to catch than most respiratory illnesses. You know, that's not one that, unless it's a strange new variant, and I haven't got a lot of information on that outbreak because we're on an information embargo. I can try to see if their health department has something and get something out to you guys. You don't walk by someone with TB and catch it. It's harder to catch, which is good, but we shouldn't be having to deal with TB.
Well, they seem to inflect that it was an airborne.
It is airborne, but it's not as, its R0 value isn't as high as other airborne respiratory viruses. When we do our TB training here, yes, we have rooms that are at the hospitals. They put you in the air rooms and mask up and gown up. But the TB nurses here that I've worked with are like, yeah, you can wear a mask, but it's not like these other respiratory diseases. It's not as easy to catch. But I can do a deep dive and see if their health department put anything out on the variant and strain that would make it more. So it's not like measles. Measles is going to be the most, the most contagious thing out there that we really see. It's not as contagious. It's R0 value, and I don't know if I can pull it up. TB R0. It's got a lower R0 value. Reproductive estimate is like 2.4. So it's a really low R0 value. It's not as easily caught, even though it's respiratory.
Well, that's good to know. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Tanya, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next thing I want to report, and I had the pleasure of being at the legislature on opening day, as I think Councilor Mira was there as well, and had a chance to visit with all of our two legislators and our lobbyists. As usual on opening day, they're optimistic with some caution in the air. But I would say, and I don't know if Councilor Mira would agree or not, but there seems to be a little more harmony than I've seen in the past, sometimes up there, but maybe that'll disappear as well.
Oh, it's the first day.
Yeah. So,
First hour.
but I think spent some time with Larry Horan, who is our lobbyist, and as always, I feel like he's representing us very well. And he's able to do that because of the fact that he helps with Sandoval County as well and some other entities within this area. So he's able to coordinate a lot of funding in certain ways and combine the needs to make sure that I think we get the best deal possible.
He helped us out today.
Did he?
For one of our Corrales bills. And he presented, so I thanked him for that, and so thank you.
Good. Next thing I just wanted to mention briefly, I'm sure you all watching the news, we've spent and our staff here today, we've made I know dozens of, well over a dozen phone calls across the state and into Texas and into Washington, trying to find out the effects of how it would affect Corrales. And the best answer is I can give you is I don't know yet. And there's a lot of talk about things that are in the pipeline, things that are already in, money that is already in New Mexico that is here and not sitting in Dallas or Washington. If it's clean water money, for instance, or it's the ability to access the Clean Water Fund. And so if it's here, it's less likely of a chance that it will be clawed back. But again, that is all just speculation at this time until they continue to review it. And but it will have an effect on it. I know that some of the emergency response people that Tanya works with around the county and so forth, their funding for their salary comes from federal dollars. And so that would have an immediate impact on the area and the county. We have monies that we get through the New Mexico Finance Authority, through the Water Trust Board and the Environment Department, that has to do with water, clean water, and sometimes loan capabilities that we have. And those are things that we're trying to get resolved as to whether they're accessible or will be as we go forward. But again, there's too many things, too many plates spinning around for anybody to give you a definitive answer. But everybody will be affected in some form or another. Speaking of that, the balance in our LGIP fund is $3,966,520. So we continue to have that money. That money is ours. And there is no federal money there. That money is ours and is flowable to us as we plan for it over the years. Last thing I wanted to mention, I don't know if many of you knew Doris Gallegos. She is retired as the Senior Citizen Center Director here in Corrales. She's been here for over 2 years and served for 15 years in Sandoval County. And so the mayor and I will be sending her. I hope some of you got a chance to meet her. She had a great rapport with the seniors here. She worked very well with the village, is trying to maintain the building and use the building for other uses. She was very cooperative, very friendly, and had a nice following of the seniors that were over there. So we have a certificate that the mayor and myself will be signing and sending on to her. But if you know Doris, she lives in Cuba, and she had a brother. Her brother lives in Rio Rancho, and so every week she would travel down from Cuba and stay with her brother, and then go back up to Cuba on the weekends to serve the citizens in Corrales here. So nice person, a good public servant. So we'll be giving this to Doris Gallegos in the near future. That's it, Mayor.
Okay.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
if I could ask a question.
Go ahead.
Since this is a critical issue to the farmers of Corrales, I'm going to ask every meeting if we have any progress on the siphon with the Pueblo of Sandia.
We're in the process. We've had a meeting this last week. We had a meeting with Mike Hammond and Damon Eli, the mayor, and myself and Melanie. And we discussed that. We're developing a strategy where we're going to be contacting some of the members of the tribal council. And as we go forward on that, we hope to push that along as fast as we can. There are subtleties to the disagreement that I'm not sure I completely understand yet, but we're hoping with some of these meetings we'll find out. We do also think that there's, as you heard at the meeting, when the tribal council was over here, there is some sort of nexus, I would say, that's going on between Sandia and Isleta as to competition between the two of them. And like I said, there's some subtleties there that I haven't fully grasped yet, but the more that we talk, the more we'll get them and try to push them along.
I think our understanding is that MRGCD is moving forward anyway with contracts, perhaps for RFPs going out and things for that siphon. Is that correct?
I have not
know.
heard,
Okay.
but I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
That they
No,
would
Jason,
continue
like-
to move forward, because it's going to be a big project. It's going to take some time.
Yeah.
But as far as actually doing anything other than design or plan, don't know.
Thank you.
We did have a interesting request that came to the siphon that we rejected outright. What was that, Melanie? It's
A surf wave.
yeah.
Why do we reject that?
Yes.
We
Because it'll bring a lot of people down here.
yeah.
Only good people though. Surfers are great.
Yeah.
We couldn't get reject out of our mouths fast enough.
Smack a tree, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Question for Ron. Can you just give a reminder of the timing for the completion of Meadowlark?
We-
Upper Metal Arc.
Okay, we, our plan right now, and Steve's in the audience, he can correct me if he wants to start it in the month of July. And we look for it to be a 6 to 8 week project. Because the plan right now, and again, this can change depending, is to try to keep at least one lane open as we're
Right.
working on it.
Right. Thank you.
Also contractors, also drainage. Those all have to be taken care of. I mean, we have to have a contractor, we have to deal with drainage. And anyway. So we'll move on to the Coriolanus Forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion and debate, to inform the governing body of an issue or a concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during the business session. There will be a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. There should have been a sign-up sheet at the door. Do you have someone?
We have 10 people tonight.
Okay,
Up first is Sabine Schurter. Sabine, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors, and audience. My name is Sabine Schurter, and I live on 47 Rincon Road. As of today at 3:30 p.m., I've been following the posting of the revised comprehensive plan, and it's still only the edited version that's available. In 2 days, there will be a public comment period at the P&Z meeting. And supposedly, the finalized plan should have been posted about 15 days ago or 13 days ago. So this hasn't happened. So I'm not really sure what the public will be able to comment on as the plan is not finalized. Another problem is as the finalized plan is not available to the council at this point, I'm really not sure how the vote and the discussion of the ACD plan can be conducted tonight. And I'm a little bit concerned about this. So I hope the councilors are considering this and maybe even consider postponing the vote discussion of this plan again, because the comprehensive plan really should be the foundation and guideline for the Arts and Cultural District Plan. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Up next is Bob Eichhorst. Bob, if you could come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Bob Eichhorst, Corrales resident. This one will be real short and brief. I would like to ask you guys to buy Ron a new microphone and Ken a new microphone. The microphones you guys have and that the mayor has pick up really well. When Ron is talking, he looks at it and he puts his head down. We can't hear out here. So if he had the same microphone that the mayor does or you guys have, we could hear those two guys. That's the easy one. The next one is council. I just want to remind you, you got these important votes coming up. You guys are the ones that control the village. The mayor is a figurehead. You guys control the village. It's your vote. You get the blame. He gets the credit.
No, that's not the way it happens.
That's what happens. So just remember that when items come up, if you don't agree with it, then don't put it in the different plans. Because you have the final say so. And it's not an easy thing to do, but you do have the final say so. And I really wish you guys would consider it every time you take a little vote, that you are representing the entire village. And everything flows downhill from here. So thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay. Next is Ricardo Blanco. Ricardo, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
I probably won't be able to read this in 3 minutes. I usually come up here and stumble, so now I'll just try to speed read this. My name is Ricardo Blanco. As you all know, I'm a farmer here. We're at 4160 Corrales Road. I'm here again to speak about the descendant families long established in Corrales before incorporation of the village. Those Corraleños that were known as the Comeongos, those who Purapala established this community and its traditions. For many of us, Corrales is our querencia, the place that gives us grounded strength that has sustained us for generations, a place where we stayed and raised our families and eventually in the end joined our ancestors in the cemetery. However, instead of being a community where one can be born, raised, and hope to raise their children, it's increasingly out of reach. We have become a village where you come to raise your kids, if you can afford the current market value that is. Unfortunately, those ties to the land that have kept us here have faded. The notion that our land is worth more than money is challenged by economic forces, including over tourism, land prices, even those ordinances, and historic, those ordinances and a whole line got deleted there, sorry. Oh, the ordinances and infamous Corrales red tape, which of course were intended to deter overdevelopment and preserve farmland and historic structures, but have sadly deterred many descendant families right out of Corrales. I have come before the council and other groups hoping that someone would finally see us, hear us. In essence, I have been trying to stage an intervention with you good folks. As MLK Jr. would say, trying to get you folks to arouse from your apathetic slumbers, hoping you would realize that our laws and ordinances should be reviewed for the overt systemic impact that they have had on descendant groups, and perhaps more importantly, consider the descendants at every level of a project ordinance from inception, planning to completion. Conducting a cultural impact study after completion of the project as an afterthought would be a start, but would be just that, an ineffective afterthought. On a concerning note, Hispanics, interestingly, are only 20% of the population in Corrales, compared to a population of about 49% Hispanics on the broader state level. Discerning who out of those 20% is among the descent families would yield a lower percentage, I'm sure. Sadly, our only recourse to ordinances is reliance on variance, those often legally costly uphill battles where positive outcomes are very unlikely, and have limited folks from enjoying and utilizing their land. And which I would argue keep many folks, especially descendants, from stepping forward or from participating in government or committees. Why cause trouble when you may need a variance, or you don't want to start getting
Thank
letters
you.
from the
That's your
village?
time.
Um,
Thank you, Ricardo. That's your
Can I
time.
have a little more time, sir?
Ricardo, you could send us an email.
All right.
I mean,
What would I didn't get to it, but some of our issues have been addressed in the comp plan, but they were omitted. I think everyone here should know that and be appalled and at the fact that we had to present our ideas or present ourselves to the committee in anonymity because we're afraid of repercussions, you know.
there will be no repercussions.
It wasn't even our suggestion. It was someone there.
Yeah.
who
So
suggested that.
I would
So-
suggest, this is a little out of order, but I would suggest that you just send an email.
Right,
And
right.
we
I
can
can't reach
perhaps,
everyone in the audience.
we
with an
can
email.
perhaps incorporate some of your information that you give us into a mayor's message at some point.
All right, I just also would like to point out that, you know, since the beginning, our elders came out to tell the people who were forming the council, my grandfather, who are incorporating the village, that the gringos, man, you got to watch out. They're going to come. They're going to fregarnos, nos van a fregar, and you're going to bring the gringada.
Yeah.
They might have been right. I think the social contract that was entered in with them has grossly been to our detriment, you know.
Well, thank you for your input.
Thank you.
Again, I would suggest send it to us. Send what you want to speak about to us.
Up next is Teresa Lopez. Teresa, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You're gonna wait, okay. Then Marty Sanchez, you are up. Marty, if you could state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes. It's all good.
Sure. Oh, yeah. She don't want to sit here for all this.
Good evening, council members. Administration. I don't want to beat an already ailing horse till he's down on the ground. But I also would like to ask you all to not consider anything with the ACD right now. We're again putting carts before horses because we really do need to have our comp plan in place. One that we can all live with. And I love what Ricardo said. He's absolutely right. A lot of what's gone on that we need as people who've been here for generations was gutted out when there were revisions done to the already finished, supposedly finished comp plan. I've yet to see a plan. I didn't look. After 10 o'clock this morning, I didn't look. My friend here, Sabine, was telling me by 3 o'clock, it still was not up. The whole thing to read. That has to be done first. We cannot even be looking at this ACD plan without knowing where the heck we're going for the next 10 years. Is that going to be part of it? If it is, what part of it? How large? How small? Is it going to encumber everybody in the village or just a privileged few? This is a sore spot for me. It really is. And it is for a lot of us here. We have been pushed out. I'm just going to say it like it is. Elephant in the room. Hispanics for one, but not just the Hispanics. It's the old families. And they weren't all Hispanics. The old families sort of been pushed to the side. And I'm going to be even more bold and daring and say, I remember when Gus Wagner had something to say about whatever the hell went on in this village. He may not have been in any of these seats, but you went to him for guidance. Was it always the greatest? Oh, Gus and I locked horns a couple of times. But the fact of the matter is the man had wisdom. He wasn't looking out for the Wagner family per se. He was looking out for the Corrales family. That's what I want to see happen here again. I don't want to be old and disillusioned. This is my dream home. I've dreamt about living here since I was 12 years old. At 19, I got to do it. At 20, I got to build my own house out of adobe that we made. This is my dream. Just because I'm old and have one foot in the grave doesn't mean I'm going to give that up easily. Thank you.
Next is Fred Hashimoto. Fred, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Mayor, Council, I'm Fred Hashimoto. I live at 485 East La Entrada. That the public is relegated to a back row seat, if that, in village planning efforts is somewhat distressing and not right. In the 2023 municipal parking lot redesign, a resident volunteer group, which included several architects, presented an alternative design to Amy Bell's, who is affiliated with Main Street. You all liked our proposal and unanimously asked the administration and Main Street and Amy to meet with us and work together on our plans. Later, administration ignored and then summarily dismissed us. We never had a talking. In the ACD plan, Main Street did not consider the public as stakeholders in our village and created a plan without any interactive discussion with the general public. In formulating their plan, they overtly ignored the 6-month process and conclusions of the very public MUF committee. We can talk about that more later. On Amy Bell's integration plan for the 4 recently acquired village properties, a 20,000 square foot event center mysteriously popped up on it. Earlier in that year, the 16,000 square foot Performance Center, MUF, was rejected by the MUF committee. How did the event center make its appearance in Amy's plan? It was put there by administration. After the comprehensive plan committee finished its draft, culminating 18 months of hard work, administration didn't like it and tried to propose its own. When that was protested, they invoked a state statute which had never been used before and has questionable applicability to our case, to remove the comp plan committee from the process, which they did. A cornerstone of this village is volunteerism, which is mentioned many times in the comp plan draft. Recently, we have volunteer groups' efforts rebuffed or ignored by administration or Main Street because they didn't agree with them. One volunteer committees, the comp plan committees, efforts have been relegated to another committee, the planning and zoning. That is outrageous and not right. Is that the reward for being a volunteer and committing time and energies to the village? Please try to guard against the furtherance of such thanks but no thanks for public volunteerism. Such is not healthy for the village. Thank you.
Next is Kurt Flora. Kurt, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Who's it in?
This is just one trailer debris. By the way, my name's Kurt Flora. New address at 28 Huff Road, Corrales, New Mexico. This is just one of 13 loads that I've taken out of just the front 3 acres of our property in the last year. 13 loads. Okay. Go down, and year and a half ago or so, we get a notice to clean up the property, and we do it. And when the notice was a citation from Miss Rice on the MRGCD property that borders ours, she wanted that cleaned up too. And we cleaned it up. Lately, I've been going down Corrales Road, and you all go down Corrales Road every day. And you pass a road down there, it's called Angus Road. And there's just a little triangle of property on Angus Road that looks like is the biggest fire hazard in Corrales. I don't care about the Bosque. The Bosque has nothing to compare to this little triangle of property on Corrales Road. It's the biggest threat to Corrales right now, I'll guarantee it. In the last 6 months, there's just trees and trees, and that property, if one spark gets on that, it could wipe out this whole village. Okay. Talked to Anthony a minute ago. He says the county of Bernalillo owns that property. Okay. Why has the village not been on the Bernalillo County's butt to clean it up like they do all of our butts to clean our properties up? Okay. 13 loads I took out of my property. That's one thing. 2 things is 6 months ago, or 5 to 6 months ago, we came into the village and asked about them taking over the culvert that comes into our property. When we gave them the property, you know, for the village to take that over, we're told to write up a, you know, what we want done, and we'll send it to our attorneys. And then another month or 2 goes by. I went into Melanie, asked her, what's going on with that? Well, we'll talk to Randy Audio. That was what, 2 months ago. She said, we'll have something by the end of January. It is the end of January. We have no peep, not a word from the village, not one word about it. What's going on? Have you just totally ignored us like you've done for 5.5 years with the battle of that? Okay. 3, I have a trash can that sits outside of our property. We put it on Corrales on Andrews Lane. And the reason we leave that trash can out there in Andrews Lane is because the people that walk their dogs up and down Andrews Lane use our trash can as their poop can. Okay. is the village gonna give us a little bit of
Thank you, Mr. Flora.
reimbursement
That's
for
your
a
time.
poop? Excuse me, everybody else got a little bit more. As a
No,
poop
it's,
can,
we gave you extra time at the
Okay.
beginning to show your photo, Mr.
So-
Flora.
you know,
Your time's up. Thank you very much.
maybe the village ought to pitch into our trash bill.
Yeah.
Up next is Pat McClernand. Pat, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor, Administrator, Councilors. I'm Pat McClernand. I live at 2968 Corellis Road. I wanted to talk just briefly about the comp plan tonight. In the early 60s, when Sherry and I moved to Albuquerque, I enrolled in architectural school and went to work for a planning group part-time, and they had under contract 6 comprehensive plans in the early 60s. This was because the federal government had just required an approved comprehensive plan before any federal money would be expended in the community. So there was a big rush, but working on those comprehensive plans, really there were 2 main ideas that were thrust upon us. One was that they be citizen directed and driven. And second was that every ordinance, every action flowed from the comprehensive plans. Those have remained pretty constant. When we moved to Corrales in the early 70s, we started again watching comprehensive plans as it was developed for our village. And so we've seen the efforts that have been expended. None have exceeded the amount of effort that our citizens committee at the latest round has provided. The number of meetings that they've had are just extraordinary, and I think they reflect the citizens' comments and direction that they want for this village. The markup that we have online is confusing. I think that's part of the process of getting there, but without a clear direction, I think it's difficult to move forward. One thing I would like to say is that I would like for you to listen to the citizens, listen to their comments, and make your decisions based on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat.
Next is Sandy Rasmussen. It's up to you, Sandy.
It's your turn.
Besides, what I have to say is either now or next. And it's not long.
Thank you.
Sandy Rasmussen, 65 Target Road. First of all, I'm here with only 3 things. I want to apologize, inform, and thank. So
You need to get a little closer.
first of all, is that better? Okay. I want to apologize to the mayor, the council, and anybody behind me that I had made the statement to some people that our final Arts and Cultural District Plan would be on our website. However, technology was not our friend, and the new version did not make it up on the timely basis that we planned. But that said, just so you all know, it's up there now and it's full and final glory. And just so you don't have to work hard, these are the cliff notes for the changes. On page 36, we took out the number, and that was made by the citizens and the council. And on page 7, the middle paragraph under implementation strategy is the statement that we understand that the comp plan is the governing document for anything we would do. Now, the thank you to all of you for the time and effort you've put into this long process, and hopefully we'll be able to move on and work together and to find some things that will unite our village again. And unless anybody has any questions, that's the end.
Thank you, Sandy.
All right, and last this evening, Mr. Bill Perkins. Bill, if you'll come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Melanie. My name is Bill Perkins. My address is 5768 Corrales Road. I want to use the first 15 seconds to say I went to the gym this morning and I think it's fantastic. And I like all the workout equipment, and I'm going to be using it. And thank you to the village for a really neat place. Thanks. All right.
What time did you go, if I may ask? quick?
Shoot,
Okay, never mind. It's okay. I didn't want to take up your time.
All right. The process of completing the comprehensive plan has become convoluted. There are multiple drafts. One draft has a clear vision, but the wrong tone. The other draft is heavily edited and difficult to understand. Now the Planning and Zoning Commission, due mostly to the title of their commission, more so than the subject of their recent work, are under considerable pressure to reconcile the conflicting forces and somehow nail down the definitive answer of a coherent direction for our village. It strikes me that an average Corrales citizen looking at this process and trying to read the drafts, these drafts, would be confused and possibly irritated and most certainly anxious for the process to be over. At a different level, one draft of the comp plan calls for a master plan of the village's neighborhood commercial district. I once thought this was a good idea, a worthwhile idea. But now I wonder if our village is capable of undertaking such a process productively. My confidence is shaken. I would like to submit to the governing body that the work of the administration towards establishing a direction for our village for the next 10 years seems to be making the case for why we should, in fact, have a planning department. Thank you.
That's everyone, Mayor.
That's all? Okay. Now we'll go to Councilors Forum. This section is for informational purposes only, not for discussion or debate, to inform the governing body of an issue or a concern that would not be addressed on the agenda during the business session. A council member may respond to an issue or a concern brought up by a resident in the preceding Corrales Forum, but to remain in compliance with the Open Meetings Act, the subject will not be up for debate or discussion. So, who's up first? Councilor Knight.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question. Is there a possibility that Amy Bell and Main Street can talk to the architects that developed some designs for the property that the village just bought?
Yes,
They can do that.
I think it was done.
We had a 3-hour meeting with them back in September.
And
So yes, it can be, and it has, but we can certainly say that, again. But
Okay,
yes, simple answer is yes.
okay, because I saw some of the plans and they were very thoughtful. And, if we're not using people's expertise on these committees, I think it's a waste. I mean, I'm sure Amy Bell is very talented and knows what she's doing, as well as with Main Street. But these architects they did this for a living for years. And if they want to bring some new ideas in, I think we should be able to look at that.
Okay, for a correction though, this is not a committee that was appointed by the governing body. Amy Bell was hired to do this parking lot. It's a parking lot. And that's what she's trying to do.
Well, it could be a parking lot with a wonderful, not just a parking lot. When I think of parking lot, I think of just asphalt
It's not going to be asphalt.
and lines,
It's not gonna be asphalt. Maybe lines.
But again, I was impressed when I saw the drawings that Miss Pat showed me. And I just thought, well, why aren't we trying to work together? And again, I think that would be a good thing for the village and transparency. And again, if there's 7 architects that want to help, why not let them help? That's my viewpoint.
Okay. Councilor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor. So that does bring up a question about, along those lines that Councilor Knight has talked about. What's the status of the on-call architect that we have budgeted for? We were told possibly it would be in January of this year. And like it's pointed out, January is almost over. So why haven't we hired an on-call architect that we budgeted for?
There has not been a particular need that has been called for on it as we listen to all these plans.
You know, Mr. Curry, it doesn't seem to me that just because you feel there hadn't been a need, doesn't mean that our will should be ignored. We budgeted for an on-call architect. You should have hired one. But the purpose of an on-call architect too, I think, is to allow designs to be put in place so that when we get funding, we're ready to go, shovel ready. We need somebody who helps design the Gonzalez property, the Anderson property, even the parking lot if we needed to. But the purpose of an on-call architect would be to allow us to design these things and get them ready to go so that they're shovel ready. And then when we get funding, they're on. We don't, you know, I hate to see projects come in like what the governor has talked about. They fund them and they sit there for 10 years.
They
because
don't in
have the
this
full.
community.
Now, Mayor.
They don't.
Mayor, I'm just telling you that our ICIP has a lot of wish list on it. Some of these things could be designed and be ready to go.
Everything takes money.
Mayor.
This is not for debate. I'm just giving you
I'm
responses.
quoting you and asking, why haven't we got an on-call architect?
We haven't seen a need at this point.
Okay, I'm going to start looking at the budget. And if I have a need, I'm going to look at the needs.
I think that's a good thing to do.
Okay.
And that's one of your jobs as a counselor, is
And
to
I
pay
will,
attention to the
but
budget.
you may not like it.
Since you want to try to tell us what our job is, I'm going to help you with your
No,
job.
but is it a budgeted item? So therefore it should have been used.
It will be at the appropriate time.
Just probably not this year, huh?
Oh, yeah, probably this year. So anyone else want to talk? Yes, sir, Councilor Alsop.
I just think we're having a disagreement about what an on-call function is.
Okay.
I think not speaking for Councilor Murray necessarily, but for me, on-call means vetted, ready to go, on standby. It doesn't mean project-driven. Oh God, we need one today. We better get an on-call one today. It means you have one in your pocket, ready to go. That's how I see it. There may be some differences of opinion of what on-call means.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, sir, Councilor Mira.
This may be brought up on old business, but Sandy, thank you for your presentation, but you were quick. And I think the most important part I couldn't catch because you said it rather quickly or the computer. So just asking you to be prepared to say it again because of what I thought I heard is what I wanted to hear. But that's, or else you can give me the piece of paper and I'll read it at the appropriate time. So I bring that up. So, because that was a concern of mine, not a concern, actually. I thought what I heard is what we've been talking about for quite some time now is the fact that shouldn't have been on the what I was reading on the internet right now. And you said you cleaned it up. Well, I saw it just about, I don't know, 6 to 8 hours ago, unless you cleaned it up in the last few times. That's okay. I don't care when you clean it up, but if you're planning on cleaning it up, I want to hear it. Page 36, okay? Not necessarily page 7. On a different note, Mr. Mayor, I want to bring up, and for the individuals, the Corraleños that are with us here, we have legislation coming up in the legislature's in season. We have 2 particular bills that, if I may.
Sure, absolutely.
If I may, we have 2 particular bills that I spoke about before. We had a hearing on one of them this morning. And it just so happens that Representative Cates is on the committee. She's the vice chairman of that particular committee, which helps. And it's House Bill 28. And the name of the act is relating to land valuation and providing New Mexico Agriculture Conservancy District or a soil and water conservation district can designate whether moderate drought conditions exist on resting land for the purpose of the valuation of that property. I heard an awful lot from you about this particular issue. The bill was heard. It's not at all a terribly, there's a lot of pages to the bill, but there's only a sentence and a half because it's new language. And the new language is the New Mexico Department of Agriculture a conservancy district or a soil and water conservation district if the drought condition, that's the new language, if the drought conditions occurred within the county. So we're adding that, saying in essence that pretty much we ourselves can make that decision on a drought. It's a little bit funny the way you look at it, but the idea being, and we have to present this to the legislature, is that you can have a drought in Corrales and not have a drought on the other side of the river. And some people would say that's impossible. But if you live in Corrales, you know that that's possible, because if the siphon pump doesn't work, there's no water coming on this side. And so therefore, the last I heard, and I'm saying what I told the legislature, that's considered a drought when there's no water. So we have to do something about that particular issue. Well, we could fix the siphon, but we can't do it overnight. But we do have problems when some of you, Mr. Mayor, all of you, we do have problems when we get to that point where the assessor is assessing whether or not you have indeed been compliant with the idea of the Department of Agriculture with regards to how your land is being categorized, and you're going to get the tax credits to go along with it. Pretty simple bill. It was a little bit stretched out, Mr. Mayor, council members, a little stretched out this morning. We had some good hearing on it. It didn't die of a tabling motion, but it's not dead. They just rolled it over so we could probably add a little bit or take a relook at the language that we have on this particular bill. So that's just the information on it. So we're going to look at amending this particular piece of legislation. The committee feels comfortable about doing that. And then we're going to go ahead and bring it back and move it forward. Mr. Mayor.
So who gets to designate the area as a drought, and who determines what the criteria are?
Thank you. You must have been at the hearing, because they asked that same question. They thought maybe a little broad with the fact, and that's the language they'll read again, that's because it's the only underlying language. The New Mexico Department of Agriculture, a conservancy district, or a soil and water conservation district, they could make those decisions. They said, nah, that's a little bit too broad, and maybe we should design who that person may be. And, I think we felt comfortable about having that discussion a little bit further. The purpose of the bill from this intention was that we're not going to let the feds make that decision, because if we let the feds make that decision, they'll come back in maybe a year or 2 or 3 or 4 and say, guess what? We had a drought in 2024. Well, by that time, yes, it's over. So therefore, we wanted to be able to do this, and MRG CDC felt very comfortable about being able to share that. And I think your question was the same question they had, and that's what we're trying to determine. Who could that person be that the state will put out as the individual? I say individual, meaning an agency, that they'll be responsible for making that decision.
Why couldn't they establish criteria for a drought? Whatever they want to pick, what they want to do, soil moisture, they want to do rainfall, they want to do vegetation growth, different things. And then those can be presented based on the criteria. They can be presented then to the MRGCD and say, hey, guys, you haven't given us much water this year, and this is what's happened. We are now suffering in this drought, whereas other places who are still getting water haven't had the same detriment to their production that we have.
Yep, I think we're going to entertain.
I think you have to have numbers or something. You have to have some kind of designation that this is a drought. You can't say, oh, we're having a drought. We don't have any rainfall. Well, maybe there's more needed. Maybe we have to do more science-related things, to actually document what's going on in this community. Because it is true, there's been a huge impact to a number of the farms here in the community.
Right. And that's for purpose of the bill. So you're right. We could go that route. We could decide MRGCD do it. I don't know that the people down in southern New Mexico would like, because this is a state bill. This isn't just for Corrales. It's a state bill. So we have to take a look at that. People in other may not want an MRGC to look at it, but we're going to be able to take a look at it. The state engineers sat at the table supporting this particular piece of legislation, but also felt comfortable we can relook at the language that we're at. That's why the bill has just been rolled over, and we might hear that bill real soon. So,
Councilor Waldman, did you
I
want?
agree with you. If we can establish that there are certain criteria
Yeah.
that it would be difficult for MRGCD or whomever that may not be as favorable to this community as another community, but objective criteria, they could either approve it or deny it based on the criteria. But then you'd have something to go by across the board.
We have some indications that
Yeah.
you need to change your evaluation of the property.
Yep.
And we have a list of them. I don't know how many you need, but that's something to be decided upon. First, you have to find out, is that written anywhere?
Well, I could agree more, and that's, we're to that point, but I think the first thing we need to decide is that we need to change that so that we're going to give somebody the capacity to make that decision. And that's the purpose of the bill, is that we're changing the law right now that doesn't allow that. Because without this particular line in there, at least a moderate drought, it would read as, and does read as, at least a moderate drought conditions are designed by the United States Department of Agriculture, period. We can't not allow them to be, when do we get that decision? Because it was a period now, but with the new language, puts a comma and puts the New Mexico Department of Agriculture, Conservancy District, or Soil Water Conservation are also be able to make that decision. And you're right, I think we need maybe the schematics of what it's going to take, but we also be able to give that power to New Mexico.
There's some real experts around that could possibly help. I'm thinking the name John Fleck, who used to write for the Journal for years and years. He teaches water.
Steve Glass.
At UNM.
Yeah. And I'm going to turn it over to Counselor because I told him I was trying to get the Briquette trying to get this over to him. And so we utilize the same people that you brought to my attention, the professionals, Mr. Jonathan from the Conservancy District. And so, Conservancy, and for those individuals talking about how much is needed in the language, they're all involved in that. We got some professionals to put that together. And I think we had a good hearing this morning. And like I said, this bill will go on.
Good. Okay.
So, and then second to that, there was two bills. One doesn't have a number yet, but
that's not a good sign.
Well, that's because we're working on it to the very end. But we have what the bill does from that perspective is that we're taking a look at and I'm looking at for my notes right here, so I don't make a mistake. The individuals who get, again, tax credits, if you want to get farmland preservation, and we talked about that. We have a bill that's moving in that direction that talks about, and again, we're utilizing those same people that I referred to, Councilor Briquette on this particular one, the valuation of properties. And what we're going to be doing there is we're going to be saying that farmland preservation as well has to be, or could be, and that's a could be, and designated by the assessors in their particular areas, make that designation. Now, there's nothing in the law that says they can't, but there's nothing in the law that says they should. So therefore, we could, and we just may have an assessor, and we had her here, you brought her, I appreciate that you all, we had this conversation with her. She saw that she couldn't make a decision really based on the fact, unless she had some hard evidence that they could give that land designation for that. And then when they do the farmland preservation, the only one they're recognizing was the federal monies from there. And that one, you can help me with some of the language on that, if you would.
I'm trying to pull it up and it's spinning, but yeah, I think we'll have more to talk about. Hopefully after you said you thought this was going to get dropped tomorrow, hopefully.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the farmland where the feds are, there's the federal, and then there's our own state, like what are we doing here? But again, we're waiting for the feds to be able to organize that. We should be able to make that decision based on New Mexico, and not, again, just in Corrales by any means, all up and down the valleys and all up and down the east side as well. That's what that particular piece of legislation says is, and it's already been drafted, and you'll be getting a copy of that. Or did I send that one to you already?
You sent me the one for the land conservation, or the conservation easements?
That's the one.
Yeah.
So you haven't shared it with the mayor yet, because
I shared it with the council.
Oh, and everybody's got it now. So if you looked at that one, and I just wanted to give you a quick update on that. Really would appreciate any kind of brief comments, because time is running late, on any of those pieces of legislation.
Okay. Counselor Knight.
I've just got one more thing to say. I went to the work study that the P and Z had about the comprehensive plan. And I was wondering if Lori is available and to ask her how long she thinks P and Z will have to work with the comprehensive plan, because not a whole lot got done because it seemed like people were looking at verbiage and language, and it was like, if we don't get something done soon, it's gonna take like another 10 years before the comprehensive plan is even gonna be workable. It was pretty frustrating. And I know everybody wants to do a good job, but it's just like getting stuck. And I was just wondering if Lori was online, that she could talk about how long she thinks that, planning and zoning will have to look at this, and how far out are we?
Based on our discussion today, she has really no control over the planning and zoning commissioners. It's whenever they've done their thing and then they can pass it on to us, actually on to you.
So there is another work study Thursday night. I did post a notice of possible quorum if council wants to attend. The hope is that P and Z will make a decision Thursday night. They're going to have all three versions of the plan. We got a version late this morning from the comprehensive plan, well, two versions. And the reason she's not on the meeting right now is she's actually over in the P and Z office trying to get all of those uploaded to the website right now. We're having issues with one of the versions of the document that was sent over by the comprehensive plan. It was sent as a Google Doc, and we can't post that to the website. So we're trying, she's working on that right now. But the hope is that they can possibly get through all of the original idea was that the meeting on Thursday night was supposed to be for P and Z to go through all the edits and make a decision. But then I think one of the commissioners said something about there being further public comment. So it could be another couple of meetings. We're not sure. But fingers crossed, it could be as early as Thursday night.
Okay. Again, it's just, I have frustration. I'm thinking everybody is frustrated with this at this point because it's not moving forward. It's holding up the other plan for Main Street. It's like, we have to get it finished. So that's my spiel. Got to get it done.
Anyone else have something to say? Okay. Consent agenda, need approval of minutes from January 14th, 2024, regular council meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Old business. Consideration action approval resolution 24-57 adopting Corrales Main Street Arts and Cultural District Economic Development Plan. Councilor Burkett, you wanted to speak earlier?
I did. Yeah. It is my recommendation, despite the fact that I think it's a great plan, that it would be kind of tagged with a scarlet letter if we did not wait till the comprehensive plan. So I would like to move that we postpone it.
Okay, we have a motion to postpone it to a date certain.
Second.
Wait a second, to a date certain?
So can a date certain be following a time period following a specific event, or does it have to be a specific date?
We need to give them a date. Otherwise it's
mean,
just Robert's rules. That's just,
We're throwing darts because we don't know when the comprehensive plan is.
tell
gonna
us
be
a
done.
good day. End of February, 2nd of February,
No, I think we should wait until March.
1st of March, first meeting in March. How's that?
That sounds acceptable.
Okay,
Maybe even the second meeting of March.
okay, well, we're just going to say first meeting in March now.
Would it be possible for us to say the meeting following the meeting where the comprehensive plan is adopted? That's not specific enough, is it?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you, but you're as good a parliamentarian as I know. So I would bat that right back to you.
I would say whatever holds their feet to the fire. And so I would say first meeting in March.
I will second that with discussion though.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second, first meeting in March. Councilor Miera.
On the discussion part, can I go back to Sandy with the?
Absolutely. Sandy, you want to
Sandy,
answer a
could
question?
you say it again because tell me what I thought I heard.
Page 36.
No.
Y no hay apuro.
The bottom,
No hurry.
the bottom of the small print.
The bottom of
Yes.
the page 36
Right.
issue. Yes, we have taken the number 250 out of that statement in the plan. Was that clear? Everybody?
I thought I had heard that and I was right that I didn't, because if did, you would have got the applause the first time around. So only prove
Okay.
the fact that I thought you said it. No, on that, Mr. Leader, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I say that because I wanted to hear that. You said it was, and it's out, but unfortunately, as I have spoken earlier, it's still in, but we've got to take that one out too, that's in the how should we say it? But did you check it?
It is.
It got struck since around 9 this morning,
Yes, and
3 this afternoon.
yeah, and I think it was to echo Sandy's apology. It was an issue between Canva and our website, and the link that should have been posted should have been the most current draft, and it wasn't. And so a technical error, but it's definitely out of the draft. And yes.
And no reference to anything else. It's just gone.
No, and I think the other one was the reference to assurance that there's the understanding, the comprehensive plan is always a guiding document. Because I think that was also a request. And so that's also has been added.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's what I.
Counselor Murray.
Thank you. So to add insult to misery and all that good stuff, the link I got today from Melanie went to the Canva website. And that did not allow me to look at it because it wanted me to create an account.
Okay.
So
for letting
is
us
it on
know.
Main Street?
It is.
Okay,
It should be on the Main Street website.
okay, that's fine.
Where?
But when I got the link from Melanie, it went into panic mode because now I had to try and download it. I couldn't get it to download.
It's so large, and I
It's
apologize.
not that, it was
Yeah.
the Canva website though,
Okay.
but
Yeah, and it shouldn't. It theoretically should just be able to view off of our website, because we don't want anybody going through the.
and to
same with
add,
Canva.
add more comment too, I was a little disturbed that as late as it came in.
Yeah.
Because it didn't give the public time to look at the program or the document either. I think we need to avoid these kind of mistakes.
Totally. And that's why I think Sandy's apologizing. We thought that it was the correct one 2 weeks ago. So
Well, that's what I thought
Yeah.
too, because that's
Yeah.
what I
Should have been.
downloaded and started working on.
when the majority of it remains the same, the key detail is the. page
Well,
numbers.
I mean, it still is incumbent on me to go through the
Sure.
document to make sure that I saw what I thought I saw. So anyway, thank you.
Appreciate you doing it.
Is it their website?
Yeah, go to their website.
Go to their website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more markers we need to pay attention to?
Sandy, can you come up to the microphone so people at home can hear you?
No. You took all my strength away. No, the only things, the statement regarding the comp plan has been there for the October version. The only thing we took out was the number on page 36. The 250 is gone. And that was the one that was probably the most concerning to the council and the citizenry. So it's gone.
Thank you. Counselor Alsobrook.
Mayor, I'd like to offer an amendment to the motion that's open on the floor. I'd
Okay.
like to change the date to the second meeting in March 25th. I just want to make sure that I do so because I'd like to give PZ the time they want to take. I don't think we need to turn the burners up on them. They know this is critical. I think we're all adults and we can wait 2 more weeks if it's needed. If they come back to us,
128.
if they come back to us sooner, I don't see any reason why we can't accelerate this action and take it on at an earlier agenda. So I move that we amend the motion to be the second meeting in March, Tuesday, March 25th.
I'll second that.
Okay, is that the correct date?
I
Okay.
believe so.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? How do you vote, Counselor Murray?
Yes.
Counselor Burkett?
Yes.
Counselor Alsobrook?
Yes.
Counselor Knight? Counselor Woolman?
Aye.
And Counselor Miera?
Yes, sir.
That was
All right.
voting on the amendment.
That was voting
Correct.
on the amendment. Yes, so the date has changed. Any further discussion on the original motion? How do you vote, Counselor Mira?
As amended, yes.
Counselor Woolman?
Aye.
Counselor Knight?
Aye.
Counselor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Counselor Burkett?
Yes.
And Counselor Murray.
Aye.
So we are moving it to March
Here it is.
25th.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Congress.
All right. Okay, so new business. Consideration action approval of resolution 25-01, lodger's tax disbursement authorization to the Corrales Society of Artists for CAST, the Corrales Art Studio Tour. I need a motion to approve.
Having read it, yes, sir. Move.
Yeah.
I'll
So moved.
second.
So we have a motion
Second.
and a second. Okay. All right, any discussion?
I only said that because I read it, because I did read it, but
Okay.
the discussion part is that, yeah, they've got a lot on their plate and they've got some money. They've never come back and asked for more. I mean, they're feeling pretty comfortable with the amount of money that they have at their
I haven't
discretion.
asked them.
And they haven't asked, they haven't
The
either.
Lodgers Tax Committee decided they could get by with.
Okay.
Now, they put a lot of money at themselves, artists.
They must, because that's what I was thinking. They didn't seem to match all that we're doing for what the little they were utilizing was probably the appropriate word. Okay, thank you.
We could probably give them more, except that that's not what the Lodgers Tax Committee said.
Asked for. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Counselor Murray, how do you vote?
Yes.
Counselor Burkett?
Yes.
Counselor Alsobrook?
Aye.
Counselor Knight?
Aye.
Counselor Woolman?
Aye.
And Counselor Miera?
Yes, sir.
Okay, announcement of future agenda items. Consideration of comprehensive plan, date unknown. P and Z Commission will hold special meeting to discuss the changes to this draft on January 30th, 24 at 5:30 PM. That's going to be here in the council and it will be,
On Zoom as well.
okay, so everybody get a chance to look if they don't want to come. And then there'll be, this is a resolution to
Yes.
destroy records, right?
Correct.
Okay, anybody else have anything else they want to? Yes, sir.
I just have a question. To ensure that we do not delay further conversations in the future, what steps and what milestones do we need to see on the comprehensive plan? And I'd love to see those assigned with some dates. I know planning and zoning needs to review it. If they do not pass some decision on Thursday, when is their next meeting? And then what sort of timeframes do we need from when they say yes to where we can say yes? I want to make sure that the smooth wheels of government don't slow us down.
Their next meeting would be the third Wednesday in February. So that would be 19th, February 19th.
We were under the impression they were already finished. We were
Okay.
told that they were finished.
But they got two new wild cards this morning, correct?
Well, just who knows why.
Yes.
Councilor Murray.
Mayor, thank you. Is there any chance we could get Jason Kasuga to come and give us a water update?
Yes, we would like to do that and we probably will, but I don't know when he's going to have time. We have to check with him. Anthony, do you have anything to add to that? Okay, so I just need to call him and ask.
Yeah, I think it'd be a wonderful idea to give our farmers.
It would be
an update.
nice to, where we have something that he has that's new information that would help.
Yeah. Might
And
also give us
perhaps
some,
it might help after this is 30 days into the session, we see what's going on there.
Sure.
That might help also.
okay, thank you.
Write that down. So, anyone else, anything else you want to discuss? You want to have, okay. So would you like to have some sort of a, not really a work study so much as a information hour where we kind of go through some of these things once we have an idea about what monies are going to be available? Because see, right now, we're kind of up in the air about what's federal, what state money that they have and what state money that they were anticipating and now they won't get. Would you like to have something like that?
I would very much like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, along those lines, I'd just kind of like a general bull session where we can just talk as a group with nothing really official to come out of it, but just, it gives us a chance to communicate back and forth with all the counselors and the administration, about some of the things that are going on in the village. I just like to, just have a general discussion. doesn't matter whether we got something coming up or not, but you know, I may have something down in the south end of the village and it might concur with, you know, Councilor Mier, you know, something. You know, anyway, I just like general bull sessions, basically what I'd like.
Can we serve beer?
Yeah, I mean, we can. Yeah,
I specifically addressed that to you, but.
well, I know, but it's not an official meeting either.
Okay. No,
Mayor?
we probably won't have the beer. It's not allowed.
Well, pizza would work too.
Can I remind council of two meetings they may not be aware of? The first one is going to be February 5th.
Oh, yeah.
The Farmers Co-op is sponsoring a Water Rights 101 meeting. I believe Tessa Davidson will be here talking, as well as Mike Hammond. And they'll be going over individual water rights and water rights for the community.
What time?
5:30, from 5:30 to
7:30.
7:30. It'll be here in the council chambers and on Zoom, and we will be recording it, and I'll be posting it to the village website and YouTube channel.
Now we have another one where the New Mexico Land Commission's coming.
Yes, that one will be on February 13th from 3:30 to 5, also here in the council chambers. It will also be on Zoom.
And also be
And-
recorded.
And it will be recorded and put on the YouTube channel as well. Those meetings are on the village website calendar with the Zoom links available there.
Okay, so we have finished with the village business, so this meeting is adjourned.